All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is February 20th, 2026. My name is Coach Kerrigan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading division for the hit and run candlesticks family. Thank you so much for being here. Let's take a look at the markets. See how I made, looks like 2,900 for the day. And let's push this over. Let's push this down. Take a look at our 10-minute chart. $10-minute uptrend coming into the close, or 10-minute bullish consolidation. Either way, okay. So bullish at the end of the day. 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. Daily candle, higher low, higher high, closing over. Bearish trap, closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP, closing at the top of quadrant 4, still in a downtrend, but still bullish. Here's the April low, and we see price move up and over to the right. So top of quadrant 4, that's still bullish, have not made a higher high, so we're still in a downtrend. Weekly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. On the 10-minute chart, QQQ got, call it an uptrend, call it bullish consolidation into the close on QQQ. On the 2-hour chart, 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. You get the sticks and the 3 EMA riding up over the 8 EMA. Daily candle, higher low, no, outside day, higher high, lower low, but closing over a bearish trap under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, still in the middle of quadrant 4. Okay, so this is still bullish, but it's still in a downtrend. They have not made any higher highs. Weekly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. And the monthly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, for Diamond Dow, you've got a outside day. That's a higher high and a lower low. Closed over a bearish trap. Over the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, up there at the middle or the top of quadrant 4, still bullish, still in an uptrend. Take a look at IWM. All right, got a higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, middle or the top of quadrant 4, still bullish and in an uptrend. Take a look at silver. Higher low, higher high, closing over, looks like a bearish trap, closing over the falling 17, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, closing under the downtrend line. Silver is still neutral because they're still in the lower third, or excuse me, they're not in the upper third, still neutral. And in a downtrend, even though they're moving up, all right, because they haven't made a higher high yet. So we've got a low here, and they made a lower low. So we're still in a downtrend. They have to take out this high over here. So that's silver on the daily chart. Neutral and in a downtrend. But let me just say this. It's not moving down, it's moving up at this time. Let's take a look at gold. Got a higher low, a higher high. We closed over a bullish trap, closed over the rising 17, closed over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. We're in the middle of quadrant 4, so that's still bullish. It's in the upper third, and it's still in an uptrend. Let's take a look at USO. USO got an inside day, lower high, higher low, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, Middle of quadrant 4, that's bullish, and then an uptrend and over the 4-year high anchored VWAP. That's the post-COVID high right there. Okay, so there's USO, bullish, and then an uptrend. UNG. Okay, UNG is a outside day. Higher high, lower low. Closed in a bearish trap under the falling 17, under the falling 12-month high anchored VWAP right there. Still at the bottom of still in the middle of quadrant 1. So that's bearish. And we have not made a higher high yet. So there's a low. We made lower lows. So we're still in a downtrend. So bearish and then a downtrend on UNG. And let's take a look at technicals. T2101, all right, for today. Well, we did move up and participation did increase. So that's a promising sign right there. T2122, not in the buy zone, not in the overbought zone, just hanging out here in the buyer's chop zone. Closing the day near the high, that is promising. They're on the bullish side of the 50-yard line or the midfield or the half court. Okay, so they're on the bullish side of it. That is promising. But what isn't is the failure to make higher highs. There's T2122 leaning into the buy zone right there. T2123. And I got to tell you, I think we got... All right, so we got a new all-time high on T2123. I said, look for this to manifest tomorrow based on the bullishness that we saw the day before. So you can see we gapped up. Bears filled the gap, but we still made a high. We made a higher high here. Actually, yeah, the Bears never made a lower low, so we're still in an uptrend. It's an all-time high for T2123 on the 15-minute, up over the rising 200 SMA. So that is clearly bullish and in an uptrend. 3-bar chart. All right, here's our origin of our rally. That would be April of 2025. You can see we go up. We make a new all-time high. That was the old all-time high. All right, we pull back to a mini head and shoulders neckline right here. All right, and then we bounce, consolidate over the 200 SMA, and then we just dug out a new all-time high again today. So all through here, we've been making new all-time highs ever since we cleared the top of this. Almost all these days, riding up through here, starting from right here. Okay, so starting from about January 15th, we've been making new all-time highs almost daily, okay? So there's the 3-bar chart, clearly, top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. And they have not made any lower lows, so clearly they're in an uptrend, all right? And, of course, you can see they're over the rising 200 SMA. That's a powerful trend right now, okay? So that's T2123. Let's take a look at Stinker. Stinker was supposed to get on top of the 200 and consolidate. They tried, not quite cutting it. You know what I'm saying? So they made a high here. They made a higher high, so that puts them in an uptrend. Question is, did they make a lower low? They came in and put a low here, rallied up, put in a lower low. So they're back in a downtrend. They're currently on top of the falling 200, just barely. They are under, these are all red here, so they're under the 17 EMA. And you can see they're over this head and shoulders neckline. And not very impressive, having a multitude of difficulties in finding, well, a flow of money to come into this product. It just does not seem like it's in demand right now. Okay, I don't know what we're waiting for, but we had the tariffs were going away. I would have thought that would have helped out quite a bit, and it did on T2123, but on the mega big cap stocks, didn't seem to matter much at all. So there's FNGU, stinker on the 15-minute. Let's take a look at stinker on the daily chart, and we'll look at it right here. So take a look at FNGU. I don't think I hit this one. Got an outside day. This is stinker. All right. Higher high, lower low, maybe even an equal low. 1770, 1776. Higher high, lower low. Outside day closing in a bearish trap. All right. Closing under the falling 17. Closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's this pink line. Purple line right here. Closing under the all-time low anchored VWAP. Okay. Closing under the midpoint. Okay, the only thing good is that it's not in the bearish zone. That's about it. Okay, on the daily chart here. So price neutral and still in a downtrend on FNGU, aka stinker. All right, let's take a look at the dollar index, see what that's doing. It's currently in an uptrend because they made a higher high. But it does not look like they want to go up, okay? So they just wanted enough to take the label off of it. They don't like the name calling. So you can see they got an inside day as well with a lower high and a higher low closing at the 97.75 area. That's the U.S. dollar index. All right, and I think I did silver and gold, and I think I did USO and everything else. How I made money today was... it was very choppy. It was not easy. It was flip me one way, flip me back the other way. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, I had to trade a lot of products, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a lot of volatility, so everything was way overpriced. And what happens when it's overpriced is I have a sweet spot, and my sweet spot is 30 cents on up to like $1.20. All right, but the problem is things melt off as time expires. If price does not move up and stay up and go consistently up, all right, what happens is you get a melt off, and now I have to switch products. In other words, I have to take a strike that's closer to at the money, not so far out anymore. All right, so I had to pick multiple calls all day long, kind of burn through them. As soon as I got out, then roll into another one on these pullbacks. So let's look at the intraday price action that was there today. Okay, so I'm going to just put it on the 3-minute for the purposes of ease, so you can see the price action. I'm going to pan over. Okay, I just want to show you the beginning. Okay, so we had a 10-minute downtrend, and we had news of, this is what we had. We had GDP at like 1.4%, which, if you know the numbers, for me, 3.0, 4.0, and higher, those are great numbers. And we have a weak dollar. You can see, because I went through the weak dollar a little bit earlier, right? Anyways, you see it's in a big bear flag. I'll go back and check it out and show you later. But so we had a weak dollar, so there was no reason why we shouldn't have really good GDP. In other words, for us to sell our products and services to foreign markets. Okay, so everything looked great on last GDP, and this time it just tanked. It did not work out at all. So I figured there's going to be a sell-off because that's all about the profits. All right, because usually when you're taking in more revenue by selling to new markets, and a new market would be like another foreign country that can now afford your goods and services. All right, but if they can't afford it, then you're not selling those products. They're sitting on the shelf, and you're losing revenue over it. All right, so on that note, we were looking good last quarter. Now this quarter, not so much, or this month, not so much. So those are all possible profits that could have been earnings per share or contributing to the earnings per share growth. And we just didn't get it. We just didn't happen. They couldn't produce it. So I thought there would be a meltdown, and I had puts. We were right on support right through here. And of course, we found a bottom. All right. And we ignited off of there, and I had to eat the puts. All right, you can see I had to eat the loss on my basket of puts right here. See all the puts? I took all hits on all my puts. All right, and then you see the first actual 15 minutes was right here. I'll push that up. All right, so here's the first 3 candles right here. That one, all the way down here. Huge range right out of the open. You can see candle 1, that's the first 5 minutes, second 5 minutes, third 5 minutes. Okay, and then we broke over this right here, and that was green erases red right there. So I got in here with some calls early in the morning, and I was able to kind of like cancel out all of this negative stuff, this negative trades with the puts, and ride these 10-minute uptrend or this 5-minute uptrend up into this all-time high anchored VWAP, which is the pink line. Also this consolidation area right through here. So I traded that up, all right? But you know, that's just the beginning of the day. Okay, so then you can see they melt back down, straight back to VWAP. And then they rise up and try it again. All right? And then they melt back down to VWAP. And then they rise up and try it again. And you can see where they go up, come back down to VWAP right here. See how they go up? Come back down to VWAP right here. Go back up. Come back down to VWAP right here. Go back up. Come back down to VWAP right here. Go up. Come back down to VWAP right here. Go up. Now they scoot under VWAP. All right, but I'm still bullish at this point. All right. They scoot under VWAP, and they rally back up, put in a bull flag, and then rally back up to the same area, and this time we start to consolidate over that all-time high anchored VWAP. That is a bullish sign right there. Price moving up and holding the higher ground. So you can see it was a very shaky day. Lots of whippiness. Lots of price action going up and down, up and down. It did make a lot of movement in the chart, which allowed for me to capture some of that, all that movement back and forth. And in that, I was able to ink out, you can see 22 on these calls, 50 on these calls, 680 on these calls, 652 on these calls. Zim, I closed that out, break even, 549 on those calls, 679 on those calls, 1100 on those calls right there. So that's it right there. It was, again, I constantly had to change products because it was nothing. It didn't really go anywhere. Okay, is between 685 and 688, and just going back and forth instead of rising all the way up to 692 or 695 like a power drive push all the way up. Instead, it just kept going back and forth. And as it went back and forth, due to the volatility, all of these were overpriced this morning. So, of course, you know, now the 695 calls, which are right here, okay, they're no longer relevant because there's no way we're getting to 695 if all we're going to do is bounce around here. All right, so of course they melt off, so I got to get rid of those and roll into something better. Same with the 700 calls. There's no way we're going to get to 700 today. These are zero DTEs. So I have to roll out of the 700s, go with the 695s. 695s, I got to roll out of those, go with something like 691s and then 690s. And then I'm just constantly changing products so I could stay relevant and in my sweet spot. So that's it right there for me for today. All right, and you can see I just, on the puts, see if I can, here's the U.S. index. Okay, it's in a big bear flag. So there's the 2025 high. This is a daily chart. And price moves from that 2025 high down to a bear flag. And we're currently, like I said, in an uptrend because we made a higher high right here. Okay, now notice all these months we've had a really weak dollar. I mean, come on, 97 to 100. So there's, GDP should have been good. GDP should have been fantastic. I don't know if the tariffs stole the thunder or what happened, but something clearly stopped working because we had, I think, close to 3.1 last time. So that was cut in half to 1.4, which is probably not acceptable to the market. Not acceptable for me anyways. And I figured there was going to be a melt-off, but we were right on support. And we had that igniting move that came right off of it. So in the midst of all of that, we had almost as bad as a Trump tweet was the Supreme Court ruled on the tariffs. And then the tariffs, they ruled them as illegal, the way that they were structured. So that means all those tariffs will come back. I don't know if they have to give the money back or if we keep the money. I have no idea what happens. I mean, we're the consumer. We're the ones that paid it. If you're going to refund us, just cancel taxes for us this year. That's my opinion, okay? Because we're the ones that paid the tariffs, all right? Because it was all priced into the goods and services that we purchased from foreign countries. All right, so as far as tariffs goes, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That would have been retaliatory tariffs on us, as we put tariffs on their products. All right, that's it for me today. I want to wish everybody a happy weekend. Everybody take care. Be safe. I'll see you all. Some impact of shutdown as per news. All right. So I'll see you guys all on Monday. Got a full week next week. All right. We'll see how we're going to close out the month of February. Let's see what we got. Yep. We will close out the month of February next week. And the following week, we start a new month. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.